Hey guys, it's Natasha. If you're a big fan of the WWE, you definitely know Sonya Deville, but that's just one part of who she is. I sit down with the woman behind that persona, Daria Berenato. We talk about how she got into the WWE, how she built that Sonya personality, that persona that you see in the ring, how she found love, how she came out as a gay person in front of national live TV. And then what's next for her? She celebrates 10 years with the WWE. I can't believe we fit it all into one episode. Check it out. Well, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
We met on the Jets field.
Yes.
You're a big Jets fan?
Yeah, so I grew up a football fan. I grew up in South Jersey, so I was privy to the Eagles growing up. But now I kind of just enjoy the sport.
Are you excited for the Super Bowl?
I am, yes. Are you going to go?
I'm not going, but I will be working because Super Bowl's on Fox.
Right.
So I'm excited to see the matchup. Are you ready to see a lot of Taylor Swift?
Yes. I mean, I'm a Swiftie.
You're a Swiftie.
Guilty.
What's your favorite Swiftie song?
Ooh, I'm going to go old school because I listened to Taylor Swift when I was in like high school.
Yeah.
It's between Love Story.
Really? Okay. Throw it back.
Maybe Our Song.
Okay.
Yeah, Our Song.
Okay.
Number one for sure.
So that's like you like the old Taylor Swift,
Yes.
the original.
Because I was like, she got cool when I was in high school, and we would listen to her on our bus rides on the basketball team to our game, and I know every lyric to those songs.
Well, how did you get into wrestling? Because you talked about, doing mixed martial arts growing up.
Yes. So I played, basketball, soccer, lacrosse my entire life, from grade school all the way through high school. And then when I was like a sophomore or junior, I kind of realized that none of that was going to lead me to my career. And I was very career motivated. I was always hustling, always trying to do something to lead me to my future. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to go to college for any of these sports. But I discovered MMA, and I started to see females fighting mixed martial arts. And this is pre-women in the UFC. This is before Dana White had decided he wanted women in the UFC. And so they were on different platforms like Elite FC and Strikeforce. And I was like, oh, I could do that. I just felt like it was something that would come natural to me. Not that I grew up getting in many street fights, but I was an athlete and I was tough, and I was always very aggressive in the sports that I did play. And so I found a gym an hour from my house. My mom would take me every day, and I just started boxing, jiu-jitsu, judo, Muay Thai, and fell in love with it.
How old were you?
15 maybe.
Wow.
16. Yeah, I couldn't even drive yet.
I mean, to know that that's what you want to do and that's how you want to take your career at such a young age.
Yeah, I didn't like school very much.
Yeah.
It wasn't the most enjoyable experience. So I was always kind of focused on like what's next, what's after school. And I didn't really think college was for me, but I pretended to go for a couple months, and then my dad found out that I was actually training MMA full time.
What did he say?
Well, he was mad. I'm sure every parent would be like, hey, I dropped out of school that you're paying for, but I'm actually fighting, training to be a fighter. I don't think any parent could understand what that meant. But I saw the vision at the time, I think. And I was just training, going to auditions, trying to get into the acting world and hosting, and kind of just hustling down in South Florida.
So WWE is like the perfect blend of that, right? It's theatrics and it's your love of, wrestling.
100%.
How did you decide to get into that world?
So the evolution from MMA to WWE is such a crazy story, and something I never expected, but it's like everything happens for a reason kind of thing. I was living out in LA. I was bartending. I was hosting a UFC podcast on Maria Menounos and Kevin Undergaro's podcast network called AfterBuzz TV, where they kind of do like after shows on your favorite television shows and sports. And so a regular at my bar was like, don't you do that UFC stuff? Would you like to host this podcast? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. All while training MMA full time. And I got to be friendly with Kevin and Maria. They came to my last MMA fight. And after the fight, they were like, you're great. You're an athlete. You're a fighter for sure. But like, there's something else. And I was like, okay, well, this is all there is for me at this moment.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I want to do. A couple months later, Kevin called me and he's like, before you say no, just hear me out. And I was like, okay. And he was like, what would you think about doing WWE? And I was like, well, I didn't know much about WWE besides like watching a few episodes of Total Divas with my mom. And I always thought those girls were so impressive. And I just thought you had to know how to do like backflips and stuff. And I was like, I'm not a gymnast. Like, I can't do this. These people are so talented.
I mean, backflips. And I mean, they do the craziest things on WWE.
Insane. And so I didn't understand what that world meant at that time. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. But what I didn't realize was at the time, WWE was kind of trying to really legitimize the women's division.
Right.
It was kind of transitioning from the Divas era to the women's evolution. And they were looking for girls with more of a fight background and an athletic background. And so I ended up trying out for the reality show Tough Enough. I got on that. Soon after got eliminated. I was heartbroken because I had fallen in love with the WWE.
To be eliminated, was that earth-shattering
Oh my
for
God.
you?
I was devastated. Devastated. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what I was doing. I was 21 years old. I had gotten a taste of this world.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, and then
went it's back taken away.
So fast. And then I went right back to bartending. So it was like just a shock in my daily routine. And I was like, no, I want that. Yeah. I want to perform. I always wanted to perform. I'm an athlete. I want to be an athlete. And I want to be in the WWE.
Yeah.
And so I just hounded them for weeks and months until they were like, yeah.
Is that really how you just kept calling them?
Yeah, I just kept texting the hiring agent at the time, like, hey, like, when can I come back? Like, let's talk.
Yeah.
And they were like, just train there for a little while and we'll come back down and kind of see what you've learned. And I was like, okay, cool. Came back down. I did a couple, front bumps for them, back bumps, showed them like the basics that I was learning. And they called me and they're like, all right, you're going to come to the Performance Center for another tryout.
Yeah.
And this will be to get a contract into the company. Went to that tryout and then soon after got the contract.
That's huge. I mean, you made it happen for yourself. Like, you pushed and pushed and pushed. And I think a lot of people might just get gutted and give up.
So I don't know if this is perseverance or me being naive. I don't know what it is, but my whole life, I've always kind of never given up, so to speak. In grade school, I tried out for the basketball team. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, did not make it any year. Got cut every single year. Same thing with the soccer team. And then still tried out in high school and ended up making the high school teams my freshman year. So, yeah, again, it might just be me being naive. Like, no, I can do this. But, yeah, giving up is not in my nature. I'm a fighter for sure, through and through.
I think, you don't hear enough about the rejections. I think we all, as a society, hear about everyone's wins and success. And it's like in that failure, I mean, that when you keep pushing yourself, that tells a lot about a person and their character.
Yeah, I'm a little bit obsessed with failure because I think it's been what's worked for me. So I think I like really cling on to that like ideology that the sooner you fail, the sooner you win. And I like live my entire life by that. I tell my stepkids that all the time. They're so sick of hearing me say it, but I'm like, you have to fail to win. You have to, no matter what it is. I mean, me and my wife started flipping houses a couple years ago, and I knew the first house was going to be a flop. I knew it was going to probably eat away more money than we made, and like I knew it, but I was so excited to get into it because we had to learn what not to do. And the only way my brain learns it is by actually doing it. I'm not a good reader. I'm not good at comprehending by like sitting there reading a book or a paper. I'm good at like just jumping in and figuring it out the hard way.
Yeah, and getting it done.
Yeah.
So you're entering in, this is your 10th year with the WWE.
Yes.
I mean, is that unreal to just hear that?
Yeah, it sounds weird hearing you even say 10 years. Like I said, I was 21 when I started. Now I'm 31. That sounds weird. Yeah, I feel like I grew up in this company. I've seen it go through so many different evolutions. Like I was saying earlier, like from the Divas era to the women's evolution, which was an exciting thing that happened while I was in the company. You just saw the transition from kind of like the glitz and glam of the women's division to like these real strong, powerful athletes. Now we have women across the board from all kinds of collegiate and professional sports backgrounds that are just crushing it and putting on matches equal to, sometimes better than the men's matches.
Yeah,
and
it's
main
so
eventing
entertaining.
Pay-per-views.
So entertaining, fun to watch.
Yeah, thank you.
I always was curious, like, how did you come up with this alter ego? Is she an alter ego, Sonya Deville?
Yeah, she's 50-50. She's half Daria and she's half Sonya.
Who is Daria? Who is Sonya? Like,
Oof.
tell me.
such a loaded answer. Daria is goofy and the butt of her own jokes, lighthearted, but intense and passionate. Sonya is jaded, chip on her shoulder, intense, passionate, and will stop at nothing to win.
Yeah.
So I think the stop at nothing to win is kind of the common denominator between Daria and Sonya.
Yeah. Did you want to have like a tougher image when you're coming up with this persona? I mean, how does that process even work when you have to come up with like a ring name and this persona? How does that work?
It's kind of like a giant gray area. There's no like one way to do it. When you get there and you start getting on TV, right before you start getting on TV, you get a list of names from creative and you give a list of names and you guys kind of go back and forth and decide on the names. I almost had a different name actually.
What were you thinking?
So it wasn't my thought. It was someone from Creative's thought was to name me NJ Deville, New Jersey Devil, because my MMA fight name was the Jersey Devil.
Okay.
So that was actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I look back on and I'm like, man, should I have said yes?
Yeah.
NJ would have been a cool name. But at the time I was like, I don't want to be named New Jersey.
Right.
You know, but I see both sides now. But I was like, I don't know about NJ. And they were like, okay, well, Deville's a good last name, so just pick a new first name. And Sonya Blade Mortal Kombat, she's a badass. And so I was like, oh, let's do Sonya. So it became Sonya Deville. And that's kind of how that went.
This might be a really weird question, but I always like wonder, like, do you ever get, like, I don't know if this is even the right word, but like jealous of Sonya, like, you know what I mean? Like, do you your alter ego? Do you ever have like a personal fight or feelings about this alter ego? Because it's a different way that people perceive you.
It is. I almost feel like I want Daria to be more like Sonya, which is weird because Sonya's so evil and she's so mean, but yeah, Sonya has a bite to her that's very sharp.
Oh yeah, she's really sharp.
Yeah, she's a sharp edge. Yeah. And I'm like, ooh, Daria could use that once in a while.
Yeah.
It'd be beneficial.
But then sometimes you're like, but I am soft. I'm not that,
Yeah,
I'm not that hard person all the time.
That's the dichotomy that I love, and I think people around me find amusing, is like, if you really know Daria, like I'm quite goofy. I am quite soft in some ways.
Yeah.
And personable. And Sonya's a big departure from that.
I see your signature moves and your finisher moves, and I'm like, dang, are you banged up all the time? Or is that what you train for?
That's what we train for.
Are you always in pain?
Yeah, no, not always. It is what we train for. You do build like a callus from, just like you would anything else. Like if you get on the treadmill for the first time in 6 months, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm out of breath. But if you do it every day, you're like, oh, this is my routine. Same thing with wrestling. Like if you're used to taking bumps every day and you're in ring shape and you're training, then it's kind of just part of the job.
How do you get into character before, your big fights? Like how do you, what's like a routine you do?
Well, I always say like the same prayer, and I do the sign of the cross 3 times, which is like a really weird superstition that I've done from my MMA days. But in character, it depends on what I have that day. It depends if it's a match or if it's a promo. Our promos are like, the words we say to our opponents. It's like a monologue. So if it's a promo, I go through a more psychological breakdown of like what could have possibly angered me in the last few months. I also draw from like personal experiences, I guess, similar to how an actor or actress would. But like I will think about people in my life that have mannerisms that are, mean or demeaning or, make you feel less than, because that's very much what Sonya does. And I kind of pulled like from those mannerisms and those catchphrases that I hate personally, and I use that.
To like draw and like really tap into that emotion.
Yeah, that's helpful for me because I'm like a visual learner. So I like to like see someone in my brain and I'm like, ooh, I hate the way they speak. I'll speak like that. I think everyone will hate it. So
I always love to learn about the process, because you have to be in total character and you can't break character, and you just got it, and
it's live.
And it's live, and you have to embody it too.
Yeah.
And sell it.
Yes, 100%. And the fans, I was talking about this the other day, I think on my TikTok, but like the fans are so keen to what is real and what is not. Like you are transparent out there. Like they know when you're phoning it in or when you're feeling it. And I've seen it through different storylines I've been in and different evolutions of my character. I've seen when the fans connect and when they don't, and they connect most when they know you're feeling it, right? It's like confidence. They're drawn to confidence, and when you're confident in your character and yourself, they can see it, and when you're not, they can also see it. So I think it's really just believing in whatever you're doing, whatever the story is, whatever your motive is at that point. It's just trying to find something in you that also believes that.
It's like they can sniff out the BS.
Yes, and our fans are everything. Like if you go to have you been to a WWE show?
I have not, but I mean, I watch it. It's
okay.
I watch it.
Well, we're coming to the Garden in March, I believe.
I'm going.
So you need to come.
I'm going.
Because it's like no other. It literally is like, when I went to my first show, I was on the reality show Tough Enough, so I hadn't like really been in the ring yet. And I went to the show and I was like, oh my gosh, I did not understand the level of production, the production value that goes into it, but B, the energy of the fans in a WWE stadium or arena is like no other. It's not like any other sport. It's like they know every catchphrase, every tagline, every signature move. They know everything about every character, and they don't waver. So it's like when you're out there feeling that energy, like you know immediately like kind of what vibe you're getting from them, and what you're getting from them in general. Like, is it working or is it not working? They will let you know.
Yeah. I think that is also such a beautiful thing, because that's what probably keeps you driven and keeps you going.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah.
To know there's such a fan base behind you.
They are. They can be so supportive and so inspiring. And when you're not doing good, they can be on the opposite end of the spectrum, and you have to take the good with the bad. But yeah, when you're cooking and you're in a good angle and you go out there, they will let you know, and it's a really cool feeling.
Yeah.
And I like being in the ring with certain people just because I know the fans love them and they hate me, and I can't wait to make them hate me more and make them love them more. Like that is just that's the fun part.
Yeah. I'm sure just too, with 10 years, a decade worth, starting at 21 to 31. And that to me also is like such an important time of your life. So much developmental, mentally, you're coming into who you are, you're finding yourself. And I'm sure you also saw an evolution of fame as well. I mean, I do want to talk about like an incident that you had with a stalker. I mean, what can you share about that?
It was a crazy time period. It was like 5 years ago now. Yeah. I mean, it was an unfortunate incident that I don't wish upon anybody. Yeah. I think there's a lot that can be done to change some laws and regulations around stalking victims. I think it's really hard sometimes when I always say, and this is going to sound weird, but I was very fortunate. The man did break into my house, did have weapons, did show intent to harm, and so he's locked up and he's in jail for a long time. That's like a best case scenario in a sense, because a lot of people deal with stalking for years and years, and if the person doesn't cross that one boundary, then you can't put them behind bars or you can't get a restraining order. And I think that is more terrifying than anything, just living with that over your head. And that's celebrities and non-celebrities, people dealing with that. So yeah, I think there's a lot that could be changed in the future, and I want to work on that.
That's something that like you live with every day?
Not so much anymore. Yeah. I've secured my life to a place where I feel comfortable and safe for me and my family. It took a while to get there, obviously, but I feel like I'm at a place now where, I feel comfortable with my lifestyle and where I'm at to be safe.
Yeah, it's just a scary situation. I think, just as you also climb up in your career and you become more famous, and you just can attract all these kind of people, and it's and then just regular people too deal with it as well. I mean, what's your advice for anyone out there maybe who's dealing with something like this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I have actually in the works right now that's going to help a lot of people, I think, with that exactly. But I tell my friends and my family members all the time, like, don't post live. Like, save your posts for another day. Do them a day late. Just don't let people know your whereabouts every single second of the day.
Let's talk about your wife.
Oh, my favorite.
Yes. 1 year of marriage.
Yes. In like 2 weeks. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. What are you guys doing?
So we have a tentative plan in place to possibly do a little European trip.
Okay.
But it's still, I'm working on planning it right now. I can't let her know all the details yet. Yeah, to be determined, but maybe a little Europe trip.
Did she really slide into your DMs?
She did.
That's how you guys met?
She slid in my DMs.
And then I was asking you earlier, like, your DMs have to be a war zone.
Yeah. So to be fair, her and I were following each other for years. I don't know who followed first.
Okay.
If anyone has those analytics, the ability to find that, let me know, because it's an ongoing debate. But yeah, so we were following each other. So when she slid in my DM, it showed up like in my primary folder.
Okay.
So I did see it, and she just said, "Hey," and I was
just
like,
hey,
just hey, like HEY, like no exclamation point,
Okay.
no heart.
What do you do with that?
What do I do with that? So I was sitting next to my best friend at the time, and I was like, "Bro, remember that girl?" Because I had talked about her. She was, she was definitely on my radar, and he was like, answer. And I was like, I think she's like in a relationship. And he's like, maybe she's not, like, just answer. Because I thought she was with her ex at the time. And I was like, hey, what's up? And then she quickly let me know she was newly single.
Okay.
And I happened to have a show the next day in New York. She was living a couple hours away. And I was like, come to my show tomorrow. I'll get you a ticket. And then I'll take you to dinner after. And so she came. She sat in the front row by herself, which I thought was so cool.
God, I love
I was like,
that.
wait, this girl's just at a wrestling show for the first time in her life, sitting front row by herself. I had one of my makeup artists go out and like peek at her. I wanted to make sure she was like all good and
that's really nice.
not a catfish, and I just wanted to make sure everything was copacetic. She comes back and she's like, oh my gosh, she's in the front row. She's gorgeous, and she's like chatting it up with everyone around her. She's like chilling, and I was like, okay. So then my entrance music hits. I come out. I do my entrance. I had a match that night, and I do my entrance, and like I face her because that's where the main camera is, and I was like, oh my god, she's so hot. And it like took me out of character for a second, and I was like, but I like stayed cool, and I like winked at her,
Right.
and then continued to wrestle and be sweaty and crazy in front of her, and then I was like, well, she either likes me more or thinks I'm weird. And she texted me after and was like, that was so cool, whatever. And then we missed our dinner reservation because the show went later. And I was like, I think one of the last matches. And so I was like scrambling because I'm very like, wanted to take her to a nice restaurant. I wanted to have everything planned. That's like kind of my style. And that blew up. And so I was like, we were in Albany, New York. Nothing was open late. It was like 11:30. Ended up finding a college dive bar. Normally not my scene. And we went, and she was starving, and I was starving, and I was like, oh my God, please tell me you have food. And they were like, yeah, we have these pizzas. You get a ticket, and you can go back and get a pizza. And it was like, I swear to God, an easy bake oven pizza. Like, not even a real pizza. It was like Elio's or something, or DiGiorno, I don't know. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I felt bad. And she was like, no, this is great. And so we were like drinking beers and eating pizzas. And it was like the greatest night ever. We ended up staying up till it closed, maybe 2 a.m., just talking in like a back table in the back of this club bar in a college town, just getting to know each other and falling in love.
And you knew something was special.
Yeah. Day one.
Oh, wow.
She just had an energy about her. And I always tell her, I'm like, I always say it's the Northeast in her, but like she had an energy about her that was just so secure and calm and like just confident.
Yeah. And
And I was so attracted to it immediately. I was like, oh, this is my wife.
I love that story.
It's pretty funny.
Because it shows that she like took a chance, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to Albany by yourself for a match, someone you don't really know if you're going to hit it off or not. Like, that's a lot of balls to do that.
It is.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that was like attractive to me. I was like, what? That's something I would do. Like, I would do that for someone else. But it was just, it was pretty cool. I was like, wow, this girl has a lot of confidence.
Does she loves what you do, obviously.
Yeah.
Does she ever worry about, injuries or anything like that?
Well, so she was ringside when I split my eyebrow open. I don't even know which one it is. But, and I was like bleeding everywhere. I had to get stitches in the back. So she was like traumatized from that. And then I tore my ACL a year ago. So
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, that upset her. And she literally took care of me the entire year and helped me get back to where I am now. But no, I mean, maybe a little. Yeah, she might be a little worried, but she loves it. She's still supportive.
After seeing like an eyebrow split open, I feel like a little trauma.
That was it. And then the year of like having to like help me get out of bed, and that was hard. But she loves what I do, and she knows I love it, and it's like my life, so she understands.
Yeah. So this is huge. WWE has already moved to Netflix.
Already on Netflix. Yeah.
And I feel like Netflix is so big in the game now. You had the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight.
Yeah.
In just live entertainment, it's truly the frontier now. It's where
in sports and entertainment. Yeah. Netflix really seems like the pioneer in that realm. It's like everyone I talk to now, my friends, family members, neighbors, random people are like, I saw you on Netflix. You're on the home screen. Like, they're so excited because, us being on cable was huge. USA is a huge network. It was amazing. But in the digital world that we live in and the way things are going, everybody has Netflix.
It's an international audience now.
It's international. Yeah. And we were always international, but now everybody can see it. And we're reaching so many more countries than we were before, and in a timely manner where everyone can kind of watch it at the same time. It's so exciting.
And being the first openly gay wrestler, WWE, is that right?
First openly gay female in the WWE.
Yes, yeah. That had to be, was that difficult, or?
It was like a big accident. Yeah. It was a really, it's a really funny story. It's a happy accident, but it was a big. So I was on Tough Enough, the reality show. The first episode of that show was like the tryouts for the show. So they showed like all the competitors trying out to be on the show.
Yeah.
And part of the tryout was an in-ring interview, essentially, with Triple H, the big boss, and a couple other corporate executives. And you're just in the ring. They told you to wear a bathing suit. And, I'm looking around at my wife laughs at this too. I'm looking around at all these girls, and they all come from like, bikini world champions and swimsuit models. And they're all in like, G-string bikinis, and I didn't get the memo, and I'm in a Billabong like sporty bathing suit, and they all were in like stilettos, and I wore a wedge, like a Sam Edelman wedge.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
I didn't look like the others. I didn't really fit in with the rest. So here I am in all my glory in a bathing suit, standing in the middle of the ring. And if you look back at the video of it, it's really funny because I don't even know how to like stand in a bathing suit. I'm like legs like wide apart. It just wasn't whatever. And Triple H, one of his first questions he asked me, which would be like a pretty standard reality TV show question, like, are you in a relationship? Are you single? Like, they're trying to get to know the contestants. But for me, it was a loaded question because I had a girlfriend and I was not out at the time. And so I kind of just froze and was like, yeah, I have a girlfriend, but she's not my wife yet. Like, I just got nervous and said like a really weird answer. And he starts laughing and he's like, did you just come out on national television? And I was like, I guess so. And then I had to like rush backstage to call my girlfriend at the time because she wasn't even out to her parents. And her mom was like on to us, but we were trying to deny it to her because she was not okay with it. And so I had to call her and be like, I'm so sorry. But if your mom's watching, because her mom knew, like, oh, her friend Daria was on this show and she was watching to support like her friend.
Yep.
But now I just said on the show that she's my girlfriend.
Which is
and I said
so
her name.
Epic. Oh.
No, nonetheless. So like she's just, she's done
confirmed.
for.
It is so confirmed.
Oh my gosh. So I felt so bad. So I called her. I'm like, she's like, no, it's okay. Like it was meant to be that way. And yeah, that was 10 years ago. So that's my coming out. It's very interesting.
When I think about you now, just getting to know you, you are just so goal oriented. Like what's like the next level for you?
Oh, so many things. I feel like the company is growing so fast. WWE is growing so fast. We're on this global platform now, and I want to grow with it. I want gold. I've had the tag team championships, but I've never had a singles championship.
Okay.
So that is confirmed a big goal of mine for 2025. It's happening. I'm manifesting it.
25 is going to be massive for you.
Thank you. I'm excited.
I can't wait to see what you accomplish. And it was so fun to talk to you.
So fun.
And it is so interesting, like seeing your on-air persona, Sonya. It is just so different than who you are, and I just love getting to know you.
Thank you for having me on. This was so fun.